Are we on? Are we on? I think we are. Yes, we are on. Good morning. Just not morning. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or whatever time of day it is when you guys are watching. We are going to be talking today about the news of the day. Conscription in the United Kingdom, phase 1 has been initiated. Now, look, let me just caveat. Do you know what? Not even caveat this. Let me just say something. Remember when we was talking about conscription in the United Kingdom, and what did we say on this channel? We said, right, we looked at things and we said, right, okay, whatever happens in the United Kingdom, they need to announce it in round about February time. Turns out it turns out we was wrong. They announced it a lot earlier. So we've got Germany, we've got France, we've got Poland, we've got, there's lots of countries in Europe who have mandatory military service. So it turns out phase 1, and let me, I will caveat this. I do think in its rawest sense, conscription is coming. I do. I think it is coming. I think what we're seeing right now is phase 1. What do I mean? I mean the news that has hit the headlines today, whereby, in fact, I'll share this with you guys actually. And if you guys are watching on TikTok, I do apologize. I can't share the screen on TikTok because I'm sharing it on YouTube. So this is what I'm talking about. Strategic reserve age. The strategic reserve age limit is rising to 65. So more can be called, in the unlikely event, ladies and gentlemen, in the unlikely event that there's World War III, we're just gonna, for no apparent reason, we are just gonna raise the strategic reserve age limit to 65. And look, I'll be quite clear. I know a lot of 65-year-olds who are absolutely badass. I remember this guy who was 62, actually. I'm not going to mention his name, but when you leave the military, if you've got a lot of experience, the military will keep you on. They will keep you on in certain units. And I can remember meeting one of these guys, and he was an instructor for some training I did in the desert. And he was absolutely badass. Like, he was 62 at the time, right? And you can imagine it, right? You've got all these young lads, maybe, in their 20s, early 30s, running with all the tactical gear on. And, like, you've got this guy doing exactly the same workload, no less enthusiasm, no less competency. And he was 62. He was 62. And like, we were all looking at him and saying, yeah, I'm not going to mention his name, but yeah, he's 62. I was like, what? He's 62? I mean, he was a rock star. He still is a rock star. I mean, what will he be now? Maybe he's probably 80 now. Right, this guy is probably 80 and he's probably still as badass. So, I can remember seeing these movies, when you see these movies and there's like older guys and you think, oh yeah, an old granddad would never do that. Trust me, there are some people in the middle, not everybody, obviously, some people enjoy eating, they enjoy drinking. Not this guy. He was a Geordie guy. He was such a badass at 62, and he's probably in his 80s now. And I've no doubt he is still just as much of a badass at 80. So when when you see these movies like Expendables and stuff, and you're like, oh, these guys are too old. You're like, I will question that. I will always question that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I know what you're here for. I'm going to talk to you guys now about conscription. I don't know. Right. If you're bolstering, and I need to caveat this, okay? If you're bolstering your military, what do you call it? There's many names for it. I'm going to use this as phase 1 conscription. So let me just start, and then I'll jump onto the chat. But before I do that, make sure, if you've not done so, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit that like, comment. What comment button? Make sure you like the buttons down below, basically the like, subscribe, bell notification, share the live on your socials, guys, because that really helps me out as well. So tonight, this evening, ladies and gentlemen, we face a sobering reality right here in the United Kingdom. And again, I said this, we collectively, as a group, as a team, as a big up fam, you hear me one time. We all said this would come February time, right? Turns out mid-January. Are we going to give ourselves that? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's here now, right? So very sobering reality right here in the United Kingdom tonight, in Great Britain. One that speaks volumes about the world that we live in and the preparations our government feel compelled to make. The Labour government, might I add, has just announced, and I'm not making this up, right? The Labour government in the United, I've just shared the link with you. The Labour government in the United Kingdom have just announced legislation in Parliament that will fundamentally change how we call up our former service personnel in times of crisis. Again, you use trained soldiers. Honestly, guys, like, this is a lot worse than people think. And the MOD, I'm confident now the MOD understand the depths of this problem. 100% I'm confident they understand the depths of this problem. They understand that all that money, time, effort, resources they've spent on training, like, for example, training me. I know a load, honestly, like, I know a load of stuff that has zero use in civilian, like in non-war fighting life. Tracer burnout rates of 7.62, like how to use machine guns, all sorts of crazy stuff. Anti-personnel mines, trip flares, anti-tank mines, explosives, advanced medical, advanced trauma management. I know how to do all that stuff. Doesn't really help me in my day-to-day life. In a war zone, that stuff's really, really relevant. So the way you use Conscript, you guys have shared. I shared the video with you guys, right, where you've got the Russians, and they are how the Russians use conscripts, right? It's not very nice, to put it politely. It's quite brutal, right? What this news today has told me is the British military understand what they need to do. 100% they understand what they need to do. They might not be saying it. They might not be letting everyone know, but the information that's been released today, and I will come on to it, says to me that the British military understand the fight. The politicians, I don't really think they know what time of day it is. But the military 100% are dialed in, guys. And when I was reading this, I was like, wow, they're doing quite a few things right. And I've been quite critical. And they're doing quite a few things right. So phase one conscription. Remember, it's never going to be called conscription. Anyway, sorry. So under these new rules, part of the Armed Forces Bill published today, the upper age limit for the Strategic Reserve is being raised from 55 to 65. And look, I know a lot of people think at 65 you're past it. Believe me, I know some badass guys and they're in their 60s, like absolute badass, absolute badass. That means tens of thousands of veterans, experienced men and women who've already served the country, who already have combat experience, could be recalled for duty until they are into their 60s, 65. Not just in the direst of emergencies, like a direct attack on the United Kingdom or whatever. For warlike preparations, a lower threshold that allows mobilization earlier when conflict seems imminent rather than when it is only upon us. This is happening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not making this up. I'm reporting on the things that are happening in real time in the United Kingdom. They're raising the... Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. We're just getting all that experience that we bought and paid for, and we're bringing it back into the fold. This isn't about conscripting fresh recruits off the streets. It's honestly, guys, it's genius. I promise you, like when I explain to you, like what a genius move this is, you will understand, all right? This isn't about conscripting fresh recruits off the streets. And you know what? The genius of it means they've thought it through and the government are actually doing something right for once. It's probably the military that are doing this, to be fair. Like I said, it's not about recruiting. It's not about recruiting fresh recruits off the street. It's about expanding the pool of well-trained, battle-hardened experts who can plug the gaps in regular forces. Around 95,000 people fall under the strategic reserve umbrella. Former regulars from the Army, Navy, Air Force who still carry a legal liability. This won't affect most who've already left the service unless they opt in, and they'll only take effect from spring 2027 if Parliament approves them. They're definitely going to approve this, guys. This, honestly, I'm going to give you the context once I've talked about this. But make no mistake, this is a clear signal of a heightened readiness. Why now? I don't know. Can anybody think of why now? Does anybody think we're heading towards a global conflict on a global on an industrial scale? Why now? Well, Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine drags on into the what are we on? 12th year. Yeah, 12 years they've been at it, right? 12 years, and it's just getting worse for the Ukrainians. Shovel, Belarus, Rachel, and Bonnie have joined on TikTok. So have Peeb and Boxing and Sparky and Patrick85. Patrick85, I love Patrick85. So we've got the invasion of Ukraine. Remember, I've been quite clear. That is going to be Britain's main intent. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has been showing how reserves can be mobilized to sustain a fight. Meanwhile, the election of Donald Trump in the United States have raised questions on the reliability of American commitments to NATO and Europe. Now, I'm not being critical of the United States. And when you hear this, the United States need to do this, they need to do that. Tell me why they need to do that. Tell me why American sons and daughters need to fly over an ocean, get off their airplanes or ships or whatever, and fight the Russians in Europe. Tell me why the Americans need to do that. And I'm just saying that I've got a lot of American friends. I have. And they're all up for a ruck. But why should they? This is a European problem, right? Europeans need to pull our big boy pants on and deal with this problem. That is the reality of the world, right? We can't keep asking Uncle Sam. And I don't want to ask Uncle Sam. I've done enough for Uncle Sam. We need to take this responsibility ourselves. Anyway, closer to home. The chief of what's his name? The chief of the Defense Air Marshal Staff, or whatever his name is, Richard. I think it was his name, Richard Knighton, Dickie Knight, reportedly warned the Prime Minister and the Chancellor just before Christmas of a staggering, and I shared this video with you guys, a staggering £28 billion shortfall in defence spending over the coming years. Labour has pledged to ramp up defence spending by 2027 and higher still in the long term. But these warnings highlighted the pressure we're under to get our house in order. So think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Do governments usually make these big, bold moves for nothing? This is not a good political move, right? Politically, this is going to lose them a ton of votes. This is going to lose the government a ton of votes. But you know what? It doesn't really matter because we're not having elections anyway in the United Kingdom, are we? We don't have elections anymore in the UK. We keep postponing them. And if you're not from the United Kingdom, I'll come on to this shortly. Millions of people in the United Kingdom have had elections postponed. Remember, only tyrannical governments cancel elections. In a fully functioning democracy that's totally healthy, they just delay them. When till? We're not telling you. We're just going to delay it. That's what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest, all right? This feels like, is it me, or does this feel like phase one of something bigger? You know, it's clearly not. I will tell you the genius of this. It's clearly not fully blown national service or conscription for young men or migrants or whatever. That is still firmly off the table for now. With the government insisting that there are no current plans for a draft, but extending to recall liability, lowering the bar for the call-up, and drawing on older veterans, it's a step towards rebuilding depth in our defences, quietly preparing the nation for a world where threats are no longer distant or hypothetical. In an era of shadow fleets, energy crises, and aggressive powers testing our resolve, Britain is signalling to the world we are serious about defence. Let me tell you why this is such a genius move, okay? So in those veterans that are going to be called up, right? And look, this is just me wildly speculating now. This is for entertainment purposes. This is just total speculation, all right? In those veterans, in fact, let me have a jump on the chat quickly, make sure everything's okay. Okay, I think everything's okay in the chat. I think everything is okay in the chat. Okay. So you can imagine now the scenario, right, where you are bringing back into the fold all these experienced guys, you know, guys who've done 22 years, sergeant majors, staff officers. You're bringing them back into the fold. You get them trained up, you get them accredited, or, you know, you get them up to date. Then guess what? Guess what you use them as. You say, right, okay, you guys are in the fold now, phase one. We're going to give you a unit of freshly trained conscripts. Train them, do as you win. They're your unit. Go out and fight. It's such a force multiplier, guys. It's fantastic. And the genius about it is there's going to be a lot of guys. There's going to be a lot of guys who will be volunteering for this. I don't know if I'm going to volunteer. It sounds like a good gig. So I'm being quite clear. I believe this is phase one. I think those guys that are going back, 95,000 apparently, 95,000, those guys that go back, they will be put in charge of, of training. They'll be put in charge of other units, and then they will be a force multiplier. Because don't forget, there's a lot of experienced guys who are there. For example, a sergeant major in his 60s, who's done his full 22 years, he would be more than capable to take on board 600 guys. Literally, that is how much of a force multiplier this is, So now you've got one guy and they say, right, Sergeant Major Raven, here is 600 guys. Train them, equip them, get them battle ready in probably not 2 weeks. Get them battle ready as quickly as possible. That's the genius of it. And that's my speculation, guys, okay? That's what I'm saying is coming, all right? That's phase one. And then obviously we'll see phase two soon. Holly's World has just become a member. Thank you so much, Holly's World, for becoming a member. Guys, I appreciate all the members so much. Thank you. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Holly. Thank you so much, Holly's World. Holly's World, Mundane Paz. I don't even know how to pronounce the rest of it, but thank you so much, Holly, for becoming a member. Right, let me jump onto the elections because the elections in the United Kingdom have been swizzled. It looks like elections are being cancelled here in the United Kingdom. Not cancelled. Remember, guys, if you're living in the United Kingdom, only totalitarian states can. Do you know what? I'm going to hang on. Let me get AI. Give me a second. You'll see what I'm doing. Right. I'm going to share this with you now. So I just asked AI, right? Look, guys, you'll see where I'm going with this, right? So remember, only totalitarian states cancel elections, right? So I'm going to share this with you. You'll see where I'm going, right? Because I'll come on to this. There's been it looks like all elections are just getting postponed in the United Kingdom. So I just asked AI. I just asked AI there, and you can see it. What can the British people do to legally oppose the government? Remember, we don't have a constitution in the United Kingdom. We don't. So, we're pretty much swizzled. So I asked AI, and I'll read it here. I'll read you one, two, three, four. 1, we can do petitions. We can do petitions. We can write to our local MPs. We can vote. Or elections. I don't know what the difference between voting and elections is. Support opposition parties, which provide not. Okay, so elections. So this is how you're supposed to oppose the government, right? You write to your MP, you make a petition, and then you vote. Hang on a minute. What if the MPs don't listen? What if nobody cares about the petition? What if the government don't care about the petition? How do you get them in? Oh, you're going to vote them out. Literally, that's all we can do. That is literally all we can do. Support opposition parties which provide alternative policies and hold the government accountable. Here's quick teaser, guys, ladies and gentlemen. What do you do if... I'm sorry. What do we do if elections are cancelled? Sorry. Elections don't get cancelled in the United Kingdom. They get delayed until an undisclosed time. We're not cancelling elections. We're delaying them. Oh, when till? There is a 22 billion black hole in the economy. We are going to smash the gangs, and we are not going to tax the working people. Yeah, but what about the elections? What about the elections? Britain stands firmly with Ukraine against Vladimir Putin's brutal invasion. Yeah, but what about the elections? We are not going to tax working people. It's just the same garbage. So we're on it now, so I'll read about this, guys, okay? So millions of people in the United Kingdom, millions of people to see their local council elections delayed. More than a third of eligible councils in England have asked to postpone their elections due in May. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It is. So what do you do? Literally, what do you do? And this comes back. This literally comes back to what I've been saying in previous videos, how we have no way to stand up to the government in the United Kingdom. None. No way. There's no legal way that we have to stand up to the government. It's absolutely crazy. Ahuna Racing or something? Ahuna Racing is saying wisdom and experience is definitely a force multiplier. It is. It really is. Obviously, he's talking there about this, the new news of conscription, not conscription, conscription light. Right, let me jump down, guys, and get some comments. There's loads of comments. I'm sorry if I can't get everyone's comments. I'm sorry if I can't get anyone's comments. Right, I'm jumping. Right, here we are. I'm gonna go with Lisa's. Lisa is saying, oh, Lisa's talking to, right, okay. Lisa's talking to someone else. I'm jumping up again. Gun Commando is saying, remind me why you'd the Russians for Starmer, please. I'm lost. Listen, I just think people would join the military. I do. I think there's a lot of veterans out there. And I don't think it's going to matter. So Gun Commando's question is, right, listen, you guys on TikTok, I'm going to close you guys down pretty soon because my battery's going. I've been absolutely chock-a-block today with work. But I'm going to close you guys on TikTok down in like 3 or 4 minutes. So if you want to continue this live stream, we're talking about conscription phase 1. This is my speculation, analysis, and opinion. We're still going to continue the live stream over on YouTube and on the Real Raven 1 on YouTube. So if you want to jump over there now, the chat is open. So Gun Commando is saying, remind me why you do bad things to Russians for Starmer, please, Sean. So I've said the direction of travel that we are heading right now, it's not going to matter. Right, it's not going to matter. We're going to be in a situation very soon in the United Kingdom where it's not going to matter who said what, why they said it, who moved troops there, who expanded, who invaded who first. Because you know what? The only thing that matters when you're in a conflict, winning, literally winning. So I know what you're saying. Why should anybody be getting into trouble for this government? And I totally understand that. But can you imagine? So Gun Commando, you have a picture of Gun Commando, you have a picture of an SA-80, the new version on the floor by your feet. So I'm assuming you're in the military. Imagine the guys in the Falklands, right? Imagine the guys in the Falklands and they're attacking those positions and they're saying, these Argentinian conscripts are not the real enemy. It's the government in Argentina, and because of poor economic decisions, they've tried to take the Falkland Islands to take political pressure off their own failures. The enemy's still there, right? They're still in a war, and that's the reality. Wall Danger sent a super £10 super. He's saying, I think full-time regular reserves are on remain list till age 25. I do believe no £2 today. Yeah, and you guys were sending like £2 supers, weren't you? So Wall Danger, yes, that right now, the age of right now as I'm making this live stream, the age of reservists is 55. So if you leave the military, you are reserve until you are 55. When you're 56, it's over. Now, the government are planning to change this. They've released something called I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you guys. Here it is. Strategic reserve age limit is raising to 65, so more can be recalled. In the unlikely event that a war breaks out, we're going to be able to recall more people. So that's what this article's saying, basically. That's what's been out on the news, and that's what's been talked about. That's what's been announced today in Parliament. And again, I do believe I think this is a genius move by the government, which leads me to believe that the government that the military, which leads me to believe that the military initiated this. Because think about it, and I will give a brief synopsis of my opening monologue later on in the live stream. So the genius of this is now you're going to get all these guys who look. You don't look. I'm just going to be real with you now, fam. One time, you hearing me? You don't join the military to not go to war. That's the reality. Like, if you're a fireman, if there's any firemen on here, or policeman, or ambulance service, do you think there's any firemen out there who joined the fire service and never wanted to put a fire out? Do you think there's any police officers out there who never wanted to do an arrest? I mean, you could argue with that one, right? Looking at what's happening with West Midlands Police, fabricating evidence. Yeah, that's right, guys. We have a police force in the United Kingdom who use AI to fabricate fake evidence. Then they pass that to the police as literally not even to the police. Sorry, they are the police. They pass that then to Parliament and say that it's real. You couldn't make it up. But don't worry, he's been sacked. What? No, he's not been sacked. The guy's still in charge of West Midlands Police. He's totally there. He's living his best life. Yeah, the government have lost confidence with him as well. But listen, ambulance service. Does anyone join the ambulance service to not treat a casualty? Exactly the same with the army, guys, okay? So you are going to have a ton of veterans with a ton of experience who are thinking, oh man, I missed this one. And I can guarantee, ladies and gentlemen, there was going to be a big number of veterans joining back up. And this is going to be phase 1. Phase 2 is going to be giving them lots of men to command. So think about it. You may have a sergeant major, a staff officer, you know, colour men, sergeants, very experienced guys. You've got a lot of experience, right? What you do, you use them as a force multiplier. You say, right, give them a headshed, right? Give them a sergeant major, give them a commanding officer, give them 3 sergeant majors. What's that? I don't know how many people that is. You know, you say, right, there's 600 guys. Train them, get them battle ready, and go and do your business. Making new units. This is what the Germans did. This is what the Germans did at the 1936. 1936, after the First World War. The Germans were told that they could only have an army of, I can't remember the exact numbers, but basically after the Second World War, the Germans were told their military could only have an army of a certain number. So what they did, I mean, you can say what you want about it. It was a genius move from the Germans, right? It was a genius move. What they did, they said, right, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to stick to your numbers. We're going to have a very small army, but that army, we are training them to be force multipliers. So every one guy that we're training, he can have maybe 100 guys. I don't know the exact numbers. They can have a lot. So then you can ramp up very quickly, because the guys who are going to work for them, right? They don't have to be as well trained. They don't, you can just throw this manpower in. Guys, honestly, like, the more I think about this, the more genius I see. And clearly, because it's been well thought through, because it has strategic benefit, we can pretty much guarantee the government had nothing to do with it. But thank you, Wall Danger, for the super. So I do believe the age has gone up. Right, let me jump down. Let me jump down and get some more chat. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining for the first time, we are talking about the news of the day. We're talking about the news of the day. I'm calling it conscription. Of course, I don't think we're ever going to get a word. We're never going to get the words. We're never going to get I don't think the word conscription is ever going to be used. But what else do you use it when you're bolstering your military? So phase 1 in the United Kingdom has been initiated. What am I talking about? The news of the day, the news that was out on the mainstream today, that the government are raising the age for their strategic reserve from 55 to 65. And also, here in the United Kingdom, we are having elections postponed. We're not cancelling them, guys, okay? We're not cancelling them, because only totalitarian regimes cancel elections. In a fully fledged democracy, we just keep putting it off, right? We keep putting the elections off. Right, listen, guys, if you're on and you've not done so already, can you make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, because we are heading into wild times. We actually said, guys, if you can remember, we actually said this was going to come in February. We did, like back in maybe December, I can't remember. We was on the live stream and we were talking about this, and we said, listen, this is going to come February. It's actually happened a little bit earlier, middle of January. Right, you guys on TikTok, I'm going to close you guys down now. I will continue this live stream on, I will be continuing this live stream on YouTube. And if you're not going to jump over, then I will bid you good evening. I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 10 to keep everybody updated in, like, what are we on? Like season, what season are we on? What season Earthlings are we on? But anyway, guys, I'm going to close you guys down now. And I'll be back in the morning. If you want to jump over, I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube, and I'm continuing this stream. Right, let me turn those guys off. And now, yeah, I'm going to hit my finger. Always hit it. That's what I do. I do that for you guys. I whack my finger every time. Every day I whack my finger. Right, let's get on to this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go through my opening monologue again. I'm going to try and briefly skim through this, okay? So tonight in the United Kingdom, we are facing an absolute sobering reality. And this is phase 1. my opinion, speculation, and analysis, and this video is all for entertainment purposes, guys. Any relevances to mainstream events are totally coincidental, okay? So we're living in wild times. Nobody can deny that we're not living in wild times. But this Labour government have just introduced legislation today in Parliament that is going to fundamentally change the scope of military service in times of a crisis. Under the new rules, and let me be quite clear, they've not been passed yet, but I don't see how they won't be passed. Under the new rules, the age limit, the upper age limit for the strategic reserve is being raised from 55 to 65. Look, if anybody's thinking out there that at 60, 65, you're past it, absolutely not. When I was in the military, we used to have these guys come in, and they were still military. They were really experienced guys. And because they'd done so much in the military that, you know, the military brought them back and they would teach you on some stuff. And I remember this guy, and he was 62, and he was an absolute badass, you know. So I don't feel age is a number. I'm still hitting the fitness levels that I was doing when I was like in my 20s. So I do think certainly today, I think people are a lot fitter, a lot older. Anyway. So this isn't about conscripting fresh recruits off the street. This is about expanding the pool of highly trained, battle-hardened experts who can plug those gaps in the military. And they can then act as force multipliers. There are around 95,000 people that fall under this strategic review umbrella. So you can imagine, all right, what that is that force multiplier. If you get all those 95,000 people, that will multiply the forces of the military to the millions, right? That's when you get conscription, when you're saying like, right, we've got the guys in, we've got the reserves in, we've got our military in, we're looking at what Germans did in 1936, and we are going to take that model. So why now? Why do you think, guys? Do you think the military just woke up and thought, do you know what? Why don't we just start taking actions for World War III? Or do you think, like I've been saying, do you think that the war in Ukraine, the inevitability of conflict, has been a sobering shot in the arm for everyone? I think it has. The West have been throwing absolutely everything at this problem, guys. They have. The West have been throwing money, guns, munitions, tanks, planes, trains, automobiles at the Russians. And guess what? The Russians are still coming because mass counts. They need more men. So let's just be honest, all right? Let me address the heading for this video, guys. Okay, Conscription UK Phase 1 initiated. I believe that's what we're seeing. We are seeing Phase 1 of conscription. Now, right now, it would make no sense, zero sense to initiate conscription right now. Why? What are you going to do with all those people? Like, literally, what would you do with all those people? You know, just think about this, guys, all right? Think about the whole of Europe as an army. Britain is going to be the special forces contingent, right? Because Britain have the best strike capability. I don't care what anybody says. That is the didactic truth. For entertainment purposes, of course. But who else? You know, who has that strike capability? So if you have that strike capability, you don't want to dilute that, right? You don't want to dilute it with conscripts because you will make them less effective. So what's the next thing? Right, okay, we need conscripts, right? You say we need conscripts. Let's just say that's a given, all right? Who's going to command them? Who's going to control them? Who's going to admin them? Who's going to support them? We don't have that infrastructure. That's what this strategic review, I believe, is giving the perfect framework for. So, like I said, I believe this is phase one of something bigger. It's not a fully blown national service or compulsory conscription for the young yet. And let me be clear. Let me be quite clear, guys, okay? The government are quite firm. You know, they're quite clear, and they're saying that this is firmly off the table. And the government is existing. There is no current plan for a military draft. But we know how things change. I can say I don't have a current plan to go to the toilet. And that's true when I say it. 2 minutes later, I can go to the toilet and say, yeah, as soon as I said it, I realized I needed to do it. So the words mean nothing. And look, guys, let's be clear. Even whatever Keir Starmer says, do you believe him? Extending the recall liability and lowering the bar for the age of the call-up, drawing on more experience, it's a step towards rebuilding depth in our defences, quietly preparing for something much bigger. That's what I believe we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen. Phase one has been firmly initiated. Right, I'm going to jump onto the comments. Oh, really? You trust that? No, I don't. No, I don't. Maybe did I say that wrong? I don't know if I said that wrong. Russia has 24 million fighting age men. They won't lose a conventional war. Ukraine is a red herring to distract from collapsing European economies and mass migration to dilute our political will. It would be hard to... Alan H1H2C, I would agree with you on that, yeah. Russia is not going to lose a conventional war. I was watching, I'll take it down so you guys can see my fantastic hair. I was watching a video there's somebody in the comments actually. Somebody in the comments was saying, Sean, the Russians are done. They're sending African mercenaries to the front line. And I was thinking like, do you not know how Russians work? Like, and they were saying, oh, they're sending these Africans. I'm thinking like, I don't think people understand how to use conscripts, you know, and the Russians clearly do. Right, I'm just going to jump up and get some chat. Real Raven 1, you have really screwed up your advert thing. What advert? What advert am I doing? Theodore, what advert am I doing, mate? I don't know what adverts I'm doing. What have I done? What have I done wrong? Listen, let me let everyone know, right? I have no say on the ads that get shown up. Absolutely zero. It's nothing to do with me. Kev Mills is saying, and that's why the Russians were sending troops out with fake wooden rifles to fight missiles. Longevity. I think so as well. You know, the Russians understand they're in this. Look, the Russians have never look back through history. This is fact. All right. The Russians have never started a war well. And I mean a real war. I don't mean like limited military conflict. I don't mean Iraq and Afghanistan, you know, these little skirmishes. I mean like, you know, the real wars where the whole country is, is fighting. The Russians never start well. But you know what happens? They don't, you know, they end strong quite a lot. Philip Gray is saying, hey everyone, hope you're all haven't been around, got some gulag for singing about Tommy R. Right, okay, well, let's not get put in the gulag then. Let's not get in the gulag. Right, listen, guys, we have the new rules, okay? The new rules, right? If you want to be negative, right, I don't mind. Honestly, I genuinely don't mind if you want to be negative about someone or something. Don't be rude. Don't be threatening. If what you're saying is backed up by fact, you know, it's backed up by, you know, news articles, other reporting, absolutely fine. Put it in the comments, put it in the chat. Just be courteous, right? If you're just going to spam nasty stuff, you're going in permanent timeout. I'm not going to block anyone. I won't. I'm not going to block anyone. That I will put you in timeout. I'm not going to block anyone. I will literally, unceremoniously, I won't even say your name. I will literally just put you in timeout. All right. Because yes, I totally get it, right? There's some wild stuff happening in the world. And you know what? Maybe all the conspiracies are true. Maybe they are. I don't know. But when you keep spamming it, it's very difficult, right? It's very difficult for me to try and get the comments. And you know, these wild conspiracies about, like, you know, reptilians and aliens and all the rest of it. I love that, guys. I really do. They're not going to be the ones conscripting you. They're not going to be the ones making your sons and daughters, you know, potentially going to an Oceania and Eurasia scenario. Silly Galadi is saying in Ramadan, Muslims go to the, I think she means mosque, and fast during the day. It's a very religious month in the Middle East. It's when problems start. Okay, I think I may have missed your last comment. Hang on, let me jump up. Did I miss your last comment? I don't know. Oh, right, we've got some breaking news. What's the breaking news? I want your Raven maths. How many troops okay, right, okay, okay. Listen, I'm going to give you guys, I did it today in the shop, actually. I was in the shop today and somebody asked me what the VAT was, and I did it in my head really quickly. And I said it was going to cost 140 quid. And he said, oh, I said, no, it'll be around there, mate. And it was 138. Anyway, Raven maths, all right? Doesn't make sense, but it always works. How many troops, I think that means, do we have? What percent will go to Ukraine, Greenland, stay in the UK for training, etc., other barracks around the world? Right, okay. Let's do the Raven maths, okay? So, I'm going to give you, so what I need to do is I need to put some speculation into this. Let me take that off the screen. So, the troops that we have, i.e. the 70, call it 75,000 or whatever, I don't think they are going to be, I think they're going to be kept and for a different role, right? These new guys that are being brought in, the older guys, so you're going to have like a 2-tier military, maybe even a 3-tier military. So the guys that we already have, the infantry battalions, the armored battalions, the few that we have, the artillery, you know, all that stuff is going to be kept, right? Complete. Because you don't want to dilute it, right? Because it's potent. Like, imagine a beer. Imagine a beer. You pour a bit of lemonade in and it's a shandy and it doesn't have the same effect, right? I think that's a good analogy, right? You know, so you don't want to shandyize the military, you know, you want to keep it as a strong beer, you know, it gets the job done. These guys that are coming in, as, you know, the older, more senior guys, I think they're going to be used, initially, they're just going to be brought in and trained. Some of them will backfill regular units. But I do think that a lot of those guys are going to be in command of conscripts. Again, probably won't be called conscripts. It'll be something else. But that's what I think is going to happen. An indirect response. How many troops? What percentage do we have go to Greenland? Okay, so first of all, I think the percentage of 0 will end up in Greenland. I know some things happened today and some soldiers have gone to Greenland, but I think the United States is going to take control full and proper of Greenland. And I think that's right as well. I think that's right. As far as Ukraine goes, I would say you need to divide our troop numbers by 3 and you need to have them on a rotation. For a constant conflict, you're going to have them on a rotation. So 75,000, call it 100,000, call it a 30,000 deployment, 30,000 troops in country, and then you rotate them through. So 30,000 at a time. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Right, let me jump down. Right, I'm seeing some beef on the chat. Let me jump down. Right, is there beef here on the chat? I can't see it. Right, is it? Am I racist? Why am I racist? Am I racist? Who's racist? Who's racist? Stephen is saying, breaking news, Chinese and Russians sending troops to help defend against the USA against the Greenland invasion. Oh, joke, but I can see it. Right, okay, so, right. Yeah, you got me. I was worried then. I was thinking, how is that even a thing? Yeah, Gone Commando is saying 18,000 fighting troops in the UK. I know that, but yeah, I thought there was 19,000. So my numbers that I go with is 19,000, but whatever. 18,000, 19,000. Okay, so when Keir Starmer has said that he's going to deploy 7,500 troops to Ukraine, at a bare minimum, you've got to triple that number, right? So like Gone Commando is saying, 18,000 troops in the UK, fine. If we're sending 7,500 to Ukraine, allegedly in whatever peace deal or ceasefire negotiation, remember guys, okay, a ceasefire is not peace. Just remember that, okay? A ceasefire is not peace. If you're sending 7,500 troops to Ukraine, then that means that somebody is going to have to move out there, right, and relieve them at some point. Or what is it? You just, right, you guys go and live in Ukraine now for the rest of your lives. No, of course not. That's never going to wash. So you need to rotate them. And in the British military, it's normally every 6 months. So if you think that you've got 3 rotations, right, and then, so that's like 6 months in Ukraine, you get a year off and then you're back again. That is a harsh rotation, guys. That is a harsh. So you get a year with your family. And in that year with your family, you have to do your own training. You have to do your own exercises. You have to do your own spearhead operations for deployments all around the world. I used to live like that. Honestly, I used to live like that. We used to do... So we used to go to Iraq. You'd come back from Iraq. Sorry, you used to go to Iraq or Afghanistan. You would come back. You would then be on. You would then be like the home unit. So then you would be doing in-house training other units. You would then be on an operational like standby. So if there was trouble, hostage rescue or something somewhere in the world, you'd have to shoot off there and do that. And you're always struggling for manpower. So it is really difficult. So 18,000 fighting troops in the United Kingdom. So times 7,500 by 3. We don't have enough troops. We don't have enough fighting troops to send to Ukraine. That's the hard and cold reality. We don't have enough troops. Right, let me jump down. Right, Theodore's been Theodore. I think Theodore's fine. He's been okay. He's not said anything. He's not said anything really bad. He's clearly got issues with people. But Theodore's he's been relatively polite. He's saying a few things that are a little bit risky. But he's I'm just reading his comments. Hang on. Yeah, I'm going to leave Theodore, guys. I'm going to leave Theodore. I honestly, I don't mind people with I don't want to block. I'm certainly not going to block people. I don't mind people with adverse opinions, all right? Because a lot of time, if you talk to these people and they can, you can have a conversation with these people, you normally find common ground. You really do. If there's somebody that you don't like, you know, and you talk to them, you know, eventually you'll find some common ground. You'll think, oh, do you know what? Well, maybe these guys are all right. And then instead of bolting in different directions and being enemies, you're actually like, yeah, that guy's all right. I understand where he's coming from, right? So listen, guys, if you, I understand people have got, you know, different opinions in the chat. Just be careful, all right? Nobody needs to not be polite in their entire life. I don't think anyone does, you know. Don't swear, don't threaten people, because that stuff's certainly not cool. And just, you know, if you've got an opinion, then absolutely fine. Share it. It's all welcome. Lewis Ackers is saying we lost more on the first day of the sum compared to what we have now. We are walking into a meat grinder. It is coming. I think it is as well, you know. And people don't understand. You know what? I'm gonna go back on that. I say that people don't understand. The government, the military definitely understand this now. So the news that we got today, ladies and gentlemen, Conscrption UK phase 1 initiated, whereby they are raising the age of people allowed back into the military. It's a genius move. Because I think, I know, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I think, I speculate that the reason the military have done this is because they understand they're going to need to use conscripts. How are you going to fight? How are you going to fight? If you consider this, guys, right? And I know if you guys were on the live stream earlier, I touched on this briefly. If you consider land pirates, right? Because this is how I think the Russians are going to fight. I think they're going to go into Europe and they're just going to use land pirates. Groups of men with no support, just marauding through Europe. And they will be told, and I'm speculating, right? This is my opinion. For entertainment purposes, I'm speculating that those marauding groups of men will just be told, right, go into Poland, go into Finland, go into wherever, take whatever you want. That's yours. But the land belongs to Russia. So now you've got all these people, these gopniks, who've got no money. They've got no chance at life because that's how the system has, you know, that's what the system they're living under is. And all of a sudden, somebody's telling them, you go into Poland, you find a Ferrari, that's yours. You go into Poland, you find a nice new house, that's yours. You go into Poland and you take money out of a bank, that's yours. You go into Poland and find all these TVs and clothes shops and all the loot and all the treasures, that's yours. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Remember, this is nobody's talking about this. Nobody has even mentioned this on mainstream media. This is my own speculation, analysis, and opinion. So now I know what you're thinking, right? I'll tell you how it's going to play out, right? Imagine your housing, wherever you live in the world, right? I don't know where you live. If you live in a block of flats, if you live on a street, on a terraced house, in an estate, wherever you live, imagine, right? Imagine 50, 100 armed men coming onto your estate and saying, hello, everyone. All this is now mine. But they're probably saying it a little bit more aggressive and letting that do the talking. What are you going to do? Literally, what are you going to do right now? Are you going to say no? Are you going to say, actually, this is my house. I bought it, so I'm going to phone the police. Okay. Like I've said, these laws, legislations, it means nothing. We're going to find out very soon that violence is the only currency. And I think the Europeans are going to be the first ones to find out. I think Poland is going to be the first one. So how are you going to deal with that? Well, I'll give you the military option, okay? The military option will be for every... So now let's just give a total hypothetical scenario, right? Village A. Random village, right? There's 100 bad guys, 100 land pirates in village A. The military come up, they say, right, how many people are in there? They say, right, there's 100. They say, okay, military planning. I need 100 people. Sorry, I need 300 people. Sorry, 300 people to attack, right? If you're planning an attack, if you're planning an attack on a fortified location, you plan on outnumbering them 3-1. That's just the metric, right? That's how it works. If you consider now, that means you have to have a minimum of 300 men to attack those 100 men, right? But that's not where it ends, because each one of those combat troops that you're sending in is supported by maybe 3 or 4 other people. So you've got logistics, you've got medics, you've got, I don't know, administration, you've got cooks, you've got doctors, you know. So each one person is supported normally by about 4, call it 3 people. Let's go low ball on this, right? So now, to take back that village that's been occupied by 100, you know, Russian gopniks or whatever, you need 300 fighting troops, and they need to be supported by maybe, I don't know, maybe another 600 people or whatever, I don't know. So you can see how the numbers don't add up, right? And when you're already on the low end of manpower, and the bad guys have got more manpower than you, it doesn't work. It is not going to work, guys. It's really not going to work. Right, I'm just going to get some more comments on the chat and then I'll start to close it out. Okay, so Dora, maybe an explorer is saying, when World War III starts, will the UK call back in our troops from America and other places? I have family serving in the USA and they have no plans to come back. It's only a very small amount of people that are in the United States. So I don't know. I mean, I guess yes, or at least put it down to a skeleton crew. It depends how ferocious it starts. Eventually, yes, of course, everybody's going to have to get called back, because I don't think it's going to be a win. I don't think it's going to be a win. And I think it's been planned as well. I think it's been planned not to be a win. What? This can't be right. Sorry. My skin's gone cold. My skin has gone absolutely cold. Sorry, I'm going to Google this. I hope this is. Right, there's no evidence of this. Right, where are you getting that from? That I've just looked now, and there is no evidence of that. Are we like? There's no evidence of that. Where's that coming from? People are strange, saying Helen. Helen's saying people are strange. What is it? People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you come out of the crowd or something. When you're a stranger. Oh, that's literally what I said. That's what I said. Are we going after Lost Boys? What a movie. Lost Boys is fantastic, right? They don't make movies like Lost Boys anymore, do they? They don't make movies like Lost Boys. People are strange when you're... sorry, I'm not going to sing. I'll get done for copyright. Philip Gray saying, we don't have the resources for a war. We would last 10 minutes, and that's probably not much of an exaggeration. Yeah, we clearly don't have the resources, but you know what? We can get them very quickly. And I think this breaking news of today, UK conscription phase 1, is the first step to doing that. I think it's the first step to doing that. I really do. He's up for parole. Oh, guys, I can't even think about this. Honestly, I can't even think about it. Honestly, I can't even think about that. It's so horrific. One of the things I always say, I don't think the death penalty should be a punishment for anyone. But I really question that. I mean, I really question that sometimes when I think about some of these crimes. I mean, I think jail certainly for this type of person should be like no visitors, no visitors, the worst food, literally the bare minimum to be alive, right? That's what I think jail should be. And no, absolutely zero chance of parole. Zero. You don't get to do that. You don't get parole if you commit certain crimes. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start to close this live stream down. If you're on and you've not done so already, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share my stuff on your socials. We have been talking today about conscription in the United Kingdom, and I'm saying, I can't think of better words. We've been saying that phase 1 has been initiated. I think if we are heading towards a global conflict on an industrial scale, I think this is like, a good move to do. And, good would mean different things to different people. But what I think is going to happen is these are just going to be a combat force multipliers where they are going to be put in charge. They're going to be like the leaders then of the conscripts. That's what I think, ladies and gentlemen. We will see. Remember, on this channel, we actually said, didn't we? We said that this will be coming February time. It's actually come a lot earlier. Anyway, I am going to leave you with this because remember, in the world, right, only totalitarian regimes, only wild totalitarian regimes cancel elections. Here in the United Kingdom, we just keep delaying them, right? We just keep delaying them. It is absolutely wild. Holly's World is saying, what? I'm American. Oh. So I don't know how to say this, Holly. There was a case in, like, I think it was the 90s. I can't even say it. Holly, I can't even say it. It's so bad. Holly, I mean, no disrespect. I genuinely, like, when I start to think about it, I start to, like, trigger myself. You're going to have to Google him, Holly. It's somebody that is so bad. I don't even want to give him the airtime, Holly. I apologize. I really do. You're going to have to look at a search engine and can somebody put the name of the boy? Because I can't say it. Can somebody put the name of the boy in the chat? Because I can't say it. I really can't say it. Something happened in the United Kingdom in the 90s that was so dark. Just the names. I mean, even now, guys, like thinking about like the girls, like it was so dark. I can't even say it. Like that's how bad it is. And this happened in the 90s, and this had nothing to do with me. All right, I'm just going to leave it there, guys. I'm just going to leave it there. So I apologize. I totally apologize, Holly. I would say don't follow these links. You're not going to enjoy what you find. It's dark. It's sinister. Yeah, and that's it. Anyway, guys, listen, I'm going to close this down now. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you for the supers, and thank you as well, Holly, for becoming a member. We're heading towards crazy times. We're heading towards crazy times. I'll be back on 10 o'clock in the morning, and I will keep you all posted. And if you're on, you've not done so already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And, of course, share all my stuff on your socials. And I'll bid you good evening. I'll see you in the morning.